Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news from Cerro Costa College, news about the budget battle in Sacramento, a fire update on the fire by Kings Canyon National Park, today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News Crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitney. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Well, in news from Sacramento and the governor's attempt to raise taxes on everyone, there's this press release from California Republicans. California Governor Jerry Brown wants over $3 billion in new taxes, including a $65 tax on every vehicle, plus increases in gasoline and diesel excise taxes. The money will go to paying for transportation needs. Once again, Brown has decided to fight the 42 Republican legislatures in the state capitol. Again, the difference is spending priorities. Republicans believe it is important to fund public safety and transportation first, then look at other things to be funded. Clearly, the governor and Democrats believe otherwise. This week, Brown's office circulated his latest proposal to fund transportation infrastructure after both the State Senate and State Assembly Republican caucus have been unequivocal that raising taxes on Californians is off the table. Within hours of the release of the governor's wish list for raising taxes, Assembly Republican leader Kristen Olson released a statement saying that the administration's ideas call for more than doubling the vehicle registration fees and raising the price on fuel of all Californians. We disagree and think Californians have paid enough. State Senate Republican leader Gene Fuller issued a joint release with Senator Jim Nielsen against the proposed taxes. They said, "The governor's solution to fixing our roads and highways cannot be to raise taxes. We are already paying enough. What are they doing with the taxes Californians have been paying at the pumps?" Most Californians drive over 10,000 miles each year. An increase of 6 cents per gallon for gas, 11 cents per gallon for diesel, and paying an additional $65 in car taxes per vehicle is an enormous burden on Californians, working families, least able to pay them. The governor wants Republican legislators to forget that it was just 2.5 months ago that he signed the largest budget in state history, coming in at nearly $160 billion. This partisan budget was negotiated between Brown and Democrat leaders without any meaningful input from the Republicans. Since the budget requires only a simple majority vote, no Republican votes were needed. However, to raise taxes, the governor and Democrats do need support from a couple Republicans to do so. Despite billions of dollars in unanticipated tax revenue and rosy forecasts for the year, the new budget shorted needed transportation funding. This was done with premeditation on the governor's part, given that as soon as he signed the budget, he then called for a special session of the legislature to raise taxes to fill the politically manufactured transportation funding deficit. Republicans spent the 2013-14 legislative term in the superminority in the Capitol. They had very, very little power. The 2014 campaign by Republicans to climb out of the superminority and regain relevance in the state capitol was largely centered around an explicit theme that if the GOP could pick up seats, they could stop tax increases from being passed in the legislature. Republicans believe the governor and state Democrats have got to change their priorities and make public safety and transportation needs the first things to be funded. After that, then looking at funding entitlement programs and pet projects for certain powerful Democrats. It will be interesting what tricks the governor pulls to get a couple Republican votes to raise taxes. I predict some sweet funding will be provided to a couple Republicans for projects in their area to get their votes. Watch this one close, folks. In Cerro Costa news, work has begun on the Cerro Costa College project. This is a major improvement plan for the college. The value of the project is $12 million. The funding comes from a proposition passed in 2002, providing up to $180 million for improvements, renovations, construction, equipping, and acquisition of buildings or classrooms. The project was awarded to Web Construction in August. It includes modernization of all classrooms and labs. The existing heating and air conditioning systems will be replaced with new, more energy-efficient equipment. The existing fire alarm system will also be replaced. It also includes a total replacement of the main parking lot. This will make it more ADA compliant. It will also include a ticket dispensing system. Working on the parking lot was scheduled to begin today. While work is being done on the main lot, everyone is directed to park in the lot across College Heights Boulevard by the gymnasium. Handicap parking will also be there. However, the college will provide car transportation from the gym parking lot to the main building for those in need of assistance. Now an update on the rough fire burning near Fresno. This fire has brought smoke into our valley from time to time, and has really hit the Owens Valley just to the north of us. Due to changing conditions of the rough fire, the Fresno County Sheriff's Office is informing the public that effective immediately, mandatory evacuation notices are being issued to certain residents near where the rough fire is burning. This is a fluid situation and there is no timetable for when these mandatory evacuations will be lifted. The impacted area is to the north of Highway 180, Millwood Road intersection in Dunlap. The community of Crabtree is the most northern point. The principle of evacuation is to move citizens from a place of relative danger to a place of relative safety, via a route that does not pose significant danger. Below is an explanation to common legal concerns during these circumstances. According to the Penal Code, any unauthorized person who willfully and knowingly enters an area closed pursuant to the subdivision and who willfully remains within the area after receiving notice to evacuate or leave shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. This misdemeanor occurs only if a person both enters a closed disaster area knowing it to be closed and subsequently refuses to leave when ordered to do so. No crime is committed by a person occupying his or her home prior to the closing of the area and subsequently refuses to leave when ordered to do so. The rough fire has grown to almost 98,000 acres and is currently the largest active fire in California. There are 1,960 personnel currently assigned to the rough fire. Containment increased to 31%. Heavy concentrations of smoke are expected near the fire today. Smoke will be slow to lift. Light and variable transportation winds are expecting primarily from the south, with increased impacts expected in the San Joaquin Valley foothills northwest of the fires. Residual smoke that has not cleared the area will add to impacts from new smoke being produced. Unhealthy to hazardous conditions are expected in communities near the fire. Similar conditions are expected tomorrow, with increased impacts expected in the Owens Valley. For those of you wanting to visit the Kings Canyon and Sequoia National Forest, we have this update. All campgrounds in Kings Canyon Park are now closed until further notice. The King Canyon Visitor Center will be open with modified hours. The General Grant Tree, Panorama Point, Park Trails, John Muir Lodge, Grant Grove Cabins, Restaurant, Market, and Gift Shop are open. Ranger programs and hikes have been canceled due to poor air quality. However, they may occur if the air quality improves. Now, stay with us for KZGN's News Talking Points editorial when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Now it's time for the 75th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. Why does this administration enforce some laws and ignore others? Well, I'm sure most of you have seen the recent enforcement action against the city clerk in Kentucky that won't issue marriage license to same-sex couples. And I might add, she was released today by the federal courts. Well, you might ask what this has to do with the editorial title. Since this is a federal court action, enforcement comes via the federal attorney general, which is appointed by the president. As we have seen since Obama got elected, the attorney general has decided some laws will be enforced and some not. I think back to the first indicator we had on this problem, when during Obama's first election, there was a group of Black Panthers in Pennsylvania at a voting office, standing right outside the entrance doors holding what appeared to be some sort of weapon. It was easily seen by the way they posted themselves and their intimidated actions that they were trying to make sure Obama supporters got in with no problem, while potential opponents to Obama felt intimidated and maybe even didn't vote. The outrage started when the videos of them were all over the news on every station. Yet even with video and audio proving they violated federal laws around voting booths, nothing was done. All based on the decision of the new Obama-appointed Attorney General Eric Holder. When I saw this, I thought that we are really in for a ride with this new administration. While they declared these decisions are based on the merits of the case, it's obvious to anyone that they are really based on ideology. Example, so they have imprisoned the city clerk. Due to the very controversial nature of her objection, someone high in the Justice Department was contacted and authorized this prosecution. So I ask, if they are going to go after her, an elected official, for not doing her job, why aren't they going after other elected officials for not doing their job? I'm referring to the elected officials and law enforcement officials that completely ignore federal immigration laws. They have gone so far as to make their action of non-enforcement in writing via written policy. These elected officials are openly admitting that they are violating federal laws and nothing is done. Why? Do you think it has anything to do with ideology? Of course it does. I was taught from a young age, if you don't like a law, then you have to work within the system to change the law. That's the way it works. No one is above the law. Oh wait, there's a new definition about enforcement. Turns out, I guess I was taught wrong all the way through school and even law school. Now we learn the president has the power to ignore laws. He has the authority to change laws. When he decides that the will of the people is not following his own ideology, then he supposedly has the power via executive authority to change laws. Well, maybe some people buy into that theory, but I sure don't. There have already been some cases the federal court has determined Obama has overstepped his authority and been overturned. Currently, his executive action to make massive changes to immigration laws around Congress has been stopped in the courts. His administration has been stopped for implementing these orders. And even during this court hold on the president's order, he has the audacity to issue another change to the immigration law, expanding the order that is currently held up by the court. This is outrageous conduct, and the choices the Attorney General has made in enforcement of the law is disgraceful. No, wait, not disgraceful. It's a violation of their oath of office. I can't tell you how mad this makes me, that certain people feel they are above the law, that it doesn't matter what the people's representatives have decided. The fact that one person in the White House thinks he knows better what the people want, and on his own, like a dictator, changes or ignores enforcement of laws he and his administration don't agree with. The president does not have this dictatorial authority, and pundits wonder why Trump has such a large support group. The people are mad at what is happening in Washington. They are mad that we have a dictator as a president, and while Congress has done a little bit to try and stop him, the people want more done. In conclusion, there is nothing in the California or U.S. constitutions that allows elected officials to ignore laws they don't agree with. All these elected or appointed officials that ignore enforcement of laws need to be arrested and prosecuted. These elected officials that operate sanctuary cities need to be arrested and prosecuted by the federal government. This enforcement is based on ideology and it has to be stopped. I'm Tom Whitnick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email it to info@KZGN.net. Now stay tuned for weather and sports after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, above normal temperatures will make it feel a lot more like summer than early fall across parts of the western, southern, and eastern U.S. Highs in the 90s will be prevalent across much of California as well as across the southern plains, Ohio Valley, and into the mid-Atlantic and New England areas. Temperatures could reach 15 to 20 degrees above normal record highs. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas came in at 77, Georgia 80, Arkansas 93, Texas 88, and Los Angeles at 82. For our forecast here in the IWV, tonight mostly clear with a low around 72, northeast wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday, sunny and hot with a high near 104, east wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low around 73, west-northwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Thursday, sunny and hot with a high near 105, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 74, northwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday, sunny and hot with a high near 105, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Friday night, mostly clear with a low around 73, east-southeast wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday, sunny and hot with a high near 105, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday night, mostly clear with a low around 73, west-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And for Sunday, sunny and hot with a high near 104, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is a look at your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom and the rest of the KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. And now Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Tuesday afternoon. Let's start with a college football note. Ohio State, the number one team in all of the land. Last year they lost one game, and that was their opener against Virginia Tech. they get revenge. They beat the Hokies last night. Ohio State, look for them for another very good season this year. No real surprises, I think, over the weekend. Arizona State didn't look that great, but they played a very good Texas A&M team. It's going to be tough to deal with. UCLA beat a decent Virginia team. USC beat a real stinky Arkansas State team. So hard to say how the locals are. Stanford didn't do too well. They lost. Oregon beat Eastern Washington in a shootout. The Pac-12, I think, a little bit stronger this year. California won their opening game. They defeated Grambling. And for the most part, everyone except Washington State played pretty well. Washington lost to Boise State. Boise State, a top 25 team. No shame really in that, especially when they play at Boise. And then Washington State, probably the surprise. They lost at home against Portland State from the Big Sky. That's a little bit of a surprise. All right, let's talk about the Dodgers and the Angels. The Freeway Series going on as we speak. Game 2 tonight in Anaheim. Game 1 went to the Dodgers 7-5. Zach Greinke pitched okay. Give up a couple home runs. Cole Calhoun hit one. C.J. Cron hit one. He goes 6 innings. He gets a win. The Dodger bullpen comes in, and the Dodgers win 7-5. Now, what's significant about that? For the Dodgers, maybe not so much. They're now 8 games over the Giants. The Giants lose against Arizona. I tell you what, when the Giants fall apart, they fall apart. I mean, they just fall apart like straws crumbling up in the wind. The Giants right now have pretty much put themselves in an unenviable position. There's no chance they'll get a wild card, and right now I see no hope for them to come back against the Dodgers. All right, the Angels, meanwhile, they still trail Houston by 5.5 games. The Angels, though, have bigger problems. They're trying to get a wild card spot. They now trail Texas, who won last night. Texas beat Seattle 3-0. So the Angels are 3.5 games behind the Rangers for the wild card spot. There's really only one wild card spot available left, and the Twins have a better chance right now than the Angels do because they only trail by 1.5 games behind the Rangers. Tampa Bay starting to fade a little bit, so you've got 3 teams really fighting for the one wild card spot, barring Houston falling apart, which you never know with them. And they took step 1 last night in falling apart. They lost to the helpless A's. The A's hadn't won a game in about a week, and the A's come back and they beat Houston 10-9 in the Coliseum. This weekend, Houston will play against the Angels. Should be pretty interesting. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the other teams. New York and Toronto, the Yankees and Toronto. Toronto loses against the Red Sox. The Yankees win. So it's a half a game lead right now in the American League East. That could go down to the very, very end. And the Chicago Cubs playing great baseball right now. They beat the Cardinals last night, the best record in baseball, 9-0. The Pirates lose, so the Pirates still 6 games back of a very good St. Louis team. The Cubs right now would play against Pittsburgh for the wild card spot to go ahead and get to play in the NLCS. We'll have to see what happens with that one. Boy, what a great Central Division this year in the National League. 3 great teams. The Pirates, a great year. 20 over 500. Most years you could win the league that way. Not this year, though. St. Louis, 30 games over 500. And then the Cubs, just about 20 games over 500. Who would have thought? Okay, Tom Brady, he's going to play week 1, which is coming up this weekend. The Deflategate thing might be behind him. Roger Goodell, I guess, was a loser against the court system. Hard to say who you really wanted to vote for in that, if anybody won or if anybody really lost. Hard to say. Kind of a shame on the NFL. The whole thing happened in the first place. U.S. Open, it'll be Serena and Venus this afternoon in the U.S. Open. That's the quarterfinals. Serena trying to do the first thing since 1988 when Steffi Graf won all 4 major tournaments. Serena needs a win, and she'll also join that category. Roger Federer also wins and advances to the quarterfinals, the number 1 seed. Well, that's your sports on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Coming up next, Ridgecrest Talk.